All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy. Welcome to episode 207 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host today, Julian Gill, admin on the KissFAQ message board, and I am joined by Wigs. Daniel, good to see you. 69th Blizzard, Ken, and
Hello.
Marcus Almighty, Mark. So, gentlemen, as always, good to get together and talk all things Kiss. I think it's important at the top of this show just to note something that has occurred this morning, and that is the passing of Richie Scarlett's wife, Joanne, after a courageous battle with ALS. You know, if you want to keep Richie and his family in your prayers or thoughts, please do so. It's a very tough time for them with this. So, Richie, we're thinking of you and your family. And that's from the KissFAQ community. Moving on to, I guess, Ace Frehley related stuff, there's no way to kind of avoid a kind of awkward segue from that distressing news into Ace has basically just replaced Richie and the rest of his solo band with the Gene Simmons band. Guys, and this came up on Cassius Morris's show. Ace did an interview with him. Congratulations, by the way, Cassius, for getting that interview with Ace. You continue to move up and up and up. Here will be the next Mitch LaFon or Eddie Trunk, I think. And I'm just going to read the quote, and it's Ace says, "I'm changing the lineup in my band. I'm actually going to start working with the band that backed up Gene on his recent solo tours. I worked with them in Australia, and they also did 8 shows with me in Japan, and I realized that I think they were better than my current lineup, so I've decided to make a change. They're younger and more hungry." There is absolutely no doubting that they are younger and hungry, and they're a fantastic group of guys. Presumably the people who are going to come over to that band are Phil Schaus, who I think will probably move over onto bass, Jeremy Asbrock, Ryan Spencer Cook, and drummer has been mentioned is Matt Starr, replacing Scotty Coogan. So, band lineups change. What are your guys' thoughts on that change, Mark?
Oh boy. Okay, well, I'm going to say this. I understand the need to change sometimes. And I think, though, that the timing is a little bad. I mean, there's no way that I don't think that Ace was unaware of, Richie's situation with his wife, maybe with how things were going. I think he could have maybe timed that a little bit better with him, especially. But, the new guys, that obviously the Gene Simmons band, they're great guys. They are fantastic performers. He's obviously going to have a great band backing him now. But, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it kind of rubs me a little bit the wrong way because Richie's been with him for so long. So have these guys. I mean, right when he was kind of making his comeback into the scene, they were behind him, they were supporting him through everything. And now, just to kind of dump them off for a hip, new, shiny, new, young band kind of seems a little, I don't know, disingenuous to me, to be honest. But whatever. I mean, that's nothing against the Gene Simmons band. I think that, like I said, they're great. They perform fantastically. I met that one guy, Chris, who brought his drum set that one year to the Nashville pod, the thing we went to there.
Yeah, that's Christopher Williams, except drummer, who's not a part of this, of course.
Yeah, and but anyways, I met a bunch of different people, but it was great though. These guys are great musicians, and he'll do well with them. But I don't know. The way he worded it too kind of rubbed me the wrong way too, saying that, younger and hungrier. Well, I mean, okay, sure. Richie and them have been playing for a long time. This is not a new thing for them. So that happens. These guys that you have now, they're going to become less hungrier with time as well. So.
Yeah, who knows? Daniel, any thoughts on the switch up in the lineup, or you don't care who plays with Ace as long as Ace is out there?
Well, I do care a little bit, at least, who plays with Ace, and I feel that Richie has somewhat of a history with the Ace Frehley band, and I think that's kind of important. These new guys, they're so they're really hired guns, so to speak. And I feel that I would rather actually see Richie in the band, even though I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions about him. I still think he brings energy, and he moves around, jumps around, and he actually can sing lead vocals on a few songs. So I'll miss Richie. The rest of the band, I don't care that much about Scott Coogan and the other guys, but Richie, I would have loved to see him stay in the band. But there's no denying the way he sounds with the Gene Simmons band. They're a tight band, and they're Kiss fans, so I'm sure he will have a good time with them. But I would have loved to see Richie holding that gig a bit longer. I feel that he's like a real member of the Ace Frehley band.
Mm-hmm.
The other guys are just like replacements, and you can have. I don't care if they switch out these Gene Simmons band the next year with younger guys, because I don't have a connection with those guys. But I do feel they're good. But I feel a little bit sad for Richie.
Yeah, totally. And I've never hidden the fact that I'm a Richie fan, and that I was thrilled last year to finally get to see an Ace Frehley lineup with him in it. Richie was part of Frehley's Comet at the beginning, 1984. You look at all those demos, or many of those demos, he's got co-write credits on quite a few of them. You know, he was a part of it. Yeah, he left the band before, the first album, and then came back in for Trouble Walking. So I'm going to miss him. I mean, he's either you love him or hate him. There's really no middle ground. Some people like Gene's criticisms of him, that he's, moving around too much, taking limelight. He's just rock and roll. I mean, he plays in a Rolling Stones cover band, and which guitarist he was playing in that role, right?
Exactly.
He's played with a lot of great musicians, the Mountain Gig. He played bass on Peter's recordings that have yet to come out. He's done a lot of really cool stuff. Timing, a lot of people knew that Joanne was sick, so Ace knew. There can never be good timing. I don't think anyone expects there to have been anything, no malicious intent in the announcement and how it was handled. She's been sick for a while. It's not been discussed publicly out of respect.
But don't you think it's an economical decision as well? I sure think the younger guys are a lot cheaper than having Richie and that bass player and Scott Coogan.
I have no idea what the economics are. I could just go by the size of the gigs Ace has been doing in the States, and he's not exactly playing large venues. He's had a good run in Australia, again, not to humongous audiences, and a good multi-day stand in Japan. So, I don't care about the economics. I'm more interested on how Ace does with a really tight-ass band. I mean, those guys are freaking monster players, and that's the Gene's band. They can play anything. They're not just Kiss guys, they are music guys. They play a lot of different music, and they play it well. And think of all the songs that Gene has been playing on his solo outings. What are they gonna persuade Ace to do? That's what I'm more interested in. Ken, what's your take on this whole, I guess, debacle?
I don't know if it's a debacle, and I don't think we may not even know everything. I mean, there may be a reason. Maybe because Richie's mother was, sick at the time. He may have said, "I need some time off." And that could have been part of the whole change. Plus, the other option here, or the other point is, this Gene Simmons band, I guess we're calling it, is. Obviously, we know they can play everything, and that's one of the reasons I think he chose them, because he would not be playing his full solo album that he's supposed to be doing coming up with his current lineup. I just don't see. I don't think that would have happened. But with these guys from the Gene Simmons band, they know all the Kiss stuff. They know better than Ace, I'm sure. So that's one of the reasons that he picked them, because they'll be able to do this stuff and do any song from his past, catalog. So that's one of the reasons. I kind of, the way, they say, well, he fired his band and stuff. But I look at it kind of like this, even though the guys are still good, Richie Scarlett's great, as we know, and been there a long time. It's kind of like when Montana was let go from the 49ers and they brought in Steve Young, right? There was the people, Steve Young, Montana could still play. Obviously, he could play in the East for a few more years, but it's kind of that kind of thing where you got a good guy, but you got the young guy in here. You're going to bring this young guy who's pretty darn good and has a lot of potential.
But I think Steve Young, they kind of already had an idea that he would eventually be brought in. I think this is kind of more unexpected.
Well, that's why he's back up.
Hey, settle. Fuck the Santa Clara Gold Diggers. I don't want to talk about that fucking team on this show. What they've done, the Yorks. Fuck that. Let's talk music, please.
Okay, so anyway, that's maybe not a great analogy, but that's the closest one I can get. But anyway, it's because I think the main fact is this band can play anything, and I guess he liked what he heard when he was playing with them, and how it worked out in that short period of time that he was over in Australia or in Japan or whatever, to play with them. So that's part of it, and now he's going to do the like I said, more of his solo stuff from '78, and we'll see what happens.
But I think you have to remind yourself why he started to play with a band in the first place. It was because it was a lot cheaper in Australia. I mean, Gene even told him, you can keep all the money yourself almost if you play with my band.
He said he could save $70,000.
Yeah, something like that. So Ace Frehley can say, well, they're a lot tighter, they're young, they're hungry, but I feel and I think that it has a lot to do with the economics. I don't see that Ace is. Yeah, I think it's that way, but that's
money is a big motivator. Don't kid yourself.
Yeah, and come on, the size of venues he's playing, I doubt he's getting massive guarantees. I think they've probably been on a descending, coming in for a landing. But, again, there's no begrudging the Gene Simmons boys. They will always have my utmost respect, and business is business. It is sometimes cruel.
Yeah,
it is what it is, and I can't wait to see what they do with it. We're leading now into the release of Spaceman, and next Friday they've got Good Day New York on Fox live TV appearance to perform Ace's "Rockin' with the Boys" single. Apparently, drummer Paul Simmons will be filling in on that gig. So then they've got the Kiss Cruise coming up, and that's going to be 3 shows, and I want to see all 3 of those. If there's any way I can get to see every single one of those shows with them, I'm going to be absolutely thrilled. But I will also be highly satisfied just to see one. And let's also talk about other things. The lineup has been very fluid over the last year, in particular for Ace's band. Chris Wise has been in and out. He's had I can't remember the chap's name, and I do apologize, filling in on bass. Chris has Hollywood Vampires, the Joe Perry solo tour coming up as well. So he's got things going. Obviously, Richie has family issues, which he's been coping with and will be dealing with now, obviously, for the short term. I think Scotty's still got Lynch Mob, but again, I don't really follow him particularly closely. So they've got other things going on, and it's, as working musicians, you're always scrambling, looking for the next. So just like the Gene boys, if they can get Ace stepping up to the microphone on time because they're lighting a candle under his ass to up his game. Ace is doing very well, but he is sloppy, but he'll have the backup of an additional guitar. Maybe that will help him be a better performer and a better show, and to totally have a unit behind him. They can sing as well, so it's going to introduce a very interesting dynamic. And Ken, you mentioned one of the other things, and that's organizers of the Indy and New Jersey Kiss Expos have united for the December Christmas party 2018. That's December the 7th, 8th, and 9th at the Hilton in Parsippany, New Jersey. Tickets are going on sale on Sunday for vendors and general admissions, and apparently there'll be VIP packages, and Ace will be there with his solo band to perform his full 1978 solo album. So right then and there,
It's pretty amazing.
yeah, you know, so that's incredible. Anyone who went to the Indie Expo knows what an incredible job Keith and the team does there. So uniting with the guys who do the New Jersey one, and it just happens to be the same weekend as some other former Kiss guitarist has.
Some shredder.
That's amazing how that happened. So now I'm having to figure out how the fuck to get from Memphis to Parsippany. You know, thanks a lot for those of us who are locked into one of those 2 nights. I'm glad I've only got the Friday. So, you know, it's going to be interesting. And just mentioning one other thing about Vinny while we're talking about guitarists is the news from this week was that apparently he's working on 3 LPs for 2019. I don't know. There's so much disinformation and static that I don't really want to go there. I'd rather see how things go with Chiller, The Gathering 3, Kiss Crew's Pre-Party, and Graceland before worrying about 1 album, let alone 3 albums. And there's no confirmed conduit directly to, you know, Mr. Ankh Warrior. So I'd rather all of that shit gets dialed back and underpromised rather than, you know, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. It's just so, you know, no.
Yeah.
Underpromise and overdeliver. So, let's see. Other news, last things. Greatest Kiss is being reissued in Japan on SHM CD. Also, you've got the Cat #1 CD coming out on mini LP cardboard sleeve on October 24th. Hop on over to CD Japan if either of those interest you. Solo Album Award, people are posting their pictures. It looks fucking incredible. So, to Keith and the team on that piece of product, again, I wouldn't buy one, but as merchandise, it looks absolutely fantastic. So, congrats on quality. Everyone's thrilled to see their names on that award. Finally, and then we'll do today's show, unreleased Dynasty footage circulating on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
It's not unreleased. It's been out about 5 different times. It's Fresno 79. It's done the rounds repeatedly, but if it's new to you now, enjoy. But it's all right. So today's show is actually another one of your topics, and we've polled friends and people we know and people who follow us on Facebook and on the FAQ message board for things that you want us to kind of talk about and address. And we've reserved a few topics for each of us that we'll get to as we go through it. But let's get started with, probably, here's the most straightforward question, and it's from Matt Hornelid from Sweden. Will it still be Kiss without Gene and Paul? Daniel?
No. It won't even be close. It will be another tribute band. I don't really know if they are going to go through with that idea that they had a few years back that they would replace Gene and Paul, and they were saying that, well, people that said that we can't keep Kiss without us are at the moment 50% wrong because we have replaced 2 of the guys. But Gene and Paul, you can't replace those guys. Come on. No way. Maybe you can do some sort of, Las Vegas theater show that where you put actors, musicians in the roles of Paul and Gene and do a short run. But you can't make it the real Kiss. You have to make
anyone can be replaced.
I don't think so.
Anybody can be replaced.
Yeah. Paul Stanley over there. No way. So it won't happen. Not at least as the real Kiss. But I see it being sort of a, like a theater or something. You play some footage from Kiss through the years, and then you have musicians, actors playing a few songs. You can do something with it, but you can't, brand it like Kiss is continuing without Gene and Paul. But it'll be interesting to see what Gene and Paul come up with. They're full of ideas.
It's as Mark was muttering under your talk. I'm going to go to Ken next.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to still exist in some fashion, obviously, without Gene and Paul. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to do the 2.0 thing, though. I saw something yesterday with regarding the the holograms again, and it was with, well, hold on. And I guess it's the technology is getting better and better, but they had it's Roy Orbison. I saw him, I was like, man, that's pretty good, So maybe they go that route. If the technology is there and good enough, they could put a 77 show together as with holograms or who knows what. It would be pretty cool if it worked somehow. But without Gene and Paul, I don't know. I mean, it's been Kiss even without Ace and Peter, I guess. So it just keeps going, and one member goes, and another member comes in. So, it's possible. Kiss, they put together a band, they call it Kiss, so it's Kiss. It's not the original Kiss, but it's Kiss because they branded it that way. Whoever the guys are in the band, whether it works or not, who knows?
All right.
Mark.
Yeah.
Mark, go ahead.
I'm just gonna say, listen, anybody can be replaced. That's whether you like it or not. That's the way it works. And look at lots of bands that I like have had members replaced throughout the years. Do I like it? No, maybe not. And of course, I'd rather have the original people in the band. But I mean, one of the bands that I really love as well, yes, to me, have proven that you can do it. I mean, they've replaced John Anderson. I mean, the voice, the whole thing behind it, yes. They replaced him with another guy who's doing just as good a job. Now, I like him actually a lot better than John Anderson, believe it or not. And, to me, I think the whole bottom line is it's all the mentality of the audience. If the audience is willing to accept change and accept the fact that if I accept it and get behind this, then I could have another 50 years of this band with younger people and have it develop and have lots more records, then it's a great thing. But if people are shut off to it and don't want it to happen, then you're going to have a finality and an end to this one way or another. So to me, I'd rather have it continue with people that are accepted in a band. I mean, Chris Squire, before he died, he literally picked his replacement in Billy Sherwood on bass, and the audience respected his decision and got behind it, and they had no issues with it. And I think that's why if Paul and Gene did something similar, and I still think, in the back of my mind, I still think that Evan's going to get involved somehow. I mean, in the last thing that just happened now in the Las Vegas thing with that songwriters thing, he was with Paul there playing and jamming with him. Who knows what's happening in the background? Maybe he's grooming him to take over for him, Who knows, right? And I think the audience would be more okay with his son taking over for him than somebody totally different, right? So, but like I said, it all boils back to whether you want to accept it or not. That's all it is.
But just think of it: play your own father as a career move. I mean, going out there. I'm pretending to be my father. I can't see him doing that, even though it sounds kind of interesting.
I'm not saying he will. I'm just saying.
No, I understand you. Yeah, but I think he has.
The bandit maker.
He wants to make his own path in the music business. So I don't think that's going to happen. But and you say people can be replaced. Well, try replacing Steven Tyler. Try replacing some guys you can't replace. I don't think.
Bon Scott.
Yeah, Bon Scott. Well.
Never mind. He got replaced.
Come on, Robert Plant. Yeah. They were thinking about it,
Ryan Johnson got replaced.
But I mean,
the biggest guy in rock, the biggest singer, the most famous singer. Of course, you can replace him with that guy. But try picking one of the. Paul and Gene won't pay Axl Rose to play Gene Simmons. They will pick the sheep. They will pick the cheapest guy they can find. In order to save money. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I hope they don't brand it as Kiss, more like some sort of play Kiss in theaters now. See how it was back in the day, something like that.
The Kiss experience. But here you go. I mean, you're talking about Evan. Talk about daddy issues. That would be a mess. But to me, KISS stands for Kiss is Stanley, stupid. You know, can you replace Gene? Yeah, you can, actually. There are some very, very convincing Genes. We've said it before on the show. Paul Stanley is the problem because of his charisma, his style, his voice, everything about Paul wrapped up into one, trying to replace him. Now, I think what Mark said is fascinating. If he picked his own replacement and said, this is my guy, then I guess all bets are off, that anything is possible. Would I want it billed as KISS? No. Can KISS survive without Simmons and Stanley? I don't know. What is KISS? KISS, if they continue to own it, then it's not really without them, even if they're not the participants on stage. It's the touring KISS experience, whatever. I don't know. I'd have to wait and see how it all played out. But for me, Paul Stanley is the reason I'm a KISS fan. He's the reason I became a KISS fan. He's the reason I've remained a KISS fan all of these years, as much as I love Peter and the other members. So for me, you can't take the heart out of a living creature and have it continue to live, and that is Paul Stanley. Let's move on to...
And nowadays, Paul Stanley is the reason you don't like KISS. So it's the reason behind everything.
For some, that may be the case, where they are suggesting that a heart transplant is needed for the patient, but we'll leave that one there. Let's do another question from another Swedish question, I think. Lixella, wherever that is, Soderland. Linda Soderland. Which is the best KISS cover? And which is the best KISS cover KISS has done? I'm going to start. I'm going to say King of the Nighttime World, because yes, it is a cover.
True.
And what they did to the song really took it from plodding, unseasoned, unspectacular, and made it spectacular. So, it hadn't been released, I don't think, but that's just my easy cop-out one, rather than talking about Kiss in Time or anything. Ken?
All right. Well, yeah, I was going to say, no one heard that song, so everyone thinks that's Kiss's original. It's the original of it.
Okay, so I'm a pussy then who just copped out of the question. Sorry. You can.
That's all right. That's all right. I did not say that. I'm going to go with... just thinking back, I'm going to go with 2000 Man, where they, I think, improved over the original Stones version. Where, I mean, that's dangerous, taking a band like the Stones and covering this song.
Yeah.
Thank God they didn't do the Beatles. I don't think they would have pulled that one off. But doing the 2000 Man, they did a great job. They aceified it and made it their own. Their own song. So that's the one I would pick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good one. Mark?
Yeah, I was going to actually pick the same one, because I thought after hearing the Stones version of it, it's definitely a marked improvement, in my opinion. I think that Ace has a way of taking a song like that and really making it his own, putting his own stamp on it. And I think it's a lot... it's a lot more catchy. I mean, I was never really into the whole psychedelia era of the Rolling Stones to begin with. So that version of it never really, caught my ear, so to speak. But yeah, I definitely think that that's their strongest cover.
Yeah, that album it comes off is not one of the Stones' better albums, for sure.
No.
Daniel, what is yours?
Well, you all picked great ones, but for me it was... a cover they did fairly late on in their career, and it was God Gave Rock and Roll to You, because I think it was such an improvement from the previous record when it comes to the way it sounded, the way they performed it, everything, the production. It was kind of the start of the revenge era, so to speak, which I like. Of course, I hadn't heard the original, but after hearing the original, I certainly would say that Kiss's version is a big improvement. and they made it kind of. It sounds like a Kiss song. I would never have guessed when I heard the original that it could ever become a Kiss song, but they managed to do it, and I think everything about it is really good, from the video to the production to the vocals to Eric Singer's drumming. The only thing I don't like is what they're really singing about, that God gave rock and roll to you. But that's for another show. I know you people over there are very religious sometimes.
Hey, Daniel.
America. Yeah.
Yeah, they did, actually 2 covers, if you think about it, at least on that, because Rock and Roll Hell, wasn't that done by BTO?
BTO. Yeah.
Bachman Turner Overdrive. I think they approved on that too, because I've heard the original.
I was just gonna mention that one. Dialing back from my cop out, my pick would be Rock and Roll Hell, because number one, it's the bombastic Creatures sound and what it improved on as well. It really was an improvement on the BTO one, though it retained the kind of angst and misery that was portrayed in the original recording, and it has the extra verse too. So anyone who loves Spinal Tap knows that having one extra is always good. So
exactly.
They've had some very good covers throughout their career. I mean, I was almost on the fence about the Ramones tribute cover, but they're really, it's not enough of an official kind of Kiss tribute track, and Rock Show was also very good, Venus and Mars. But had they ever done that Who song, that would be it, but they didn't. All right, so everyone reserved one of these topics on our list for them to take the lead on today. So Mark, why don't you kick us off with the topic that you wanted to start off on?
Okay, well, I think when I originally went online and told everybody what I thought I wanted to reserve, I know Daniel chimed in right away and made a few comments about it. But the one that I picked was, which of all the Kiss albums would you give a completely different sound mix? And that was from Matthias Ferry from Umeå, Sweden, I believe it's. And I think it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out which album I'm going to say for this. Hotter Than Hell. No, I'm just kidding. It's Destroyer, obviously. And what, like I said before, Destroyer to me is that record that just sticks out like a sore thumb, like the thumb that got hit with a big hammer on it, and I just don't, like I said, I've never understood that whole final product. Kiss to me has a certain sound which got, totally, it pinnacled on rock and roll over, in my opinion. That's the sound of Kiss, the sound that I love with Kiss. And, Destroyer is just the complete opposite of that. With the strings and the orchestras and the, come on. I mean, that's just not Kiss to me. I think that, if Bob would have took those elements out of it and just maybe tried to approach it as a more straight ahead rock and roll album, I might have had less issue with it, because like I said, I like a lot of the other albums Ezrin's worked on, the Floyd stuff, the Alice Cooper stuff. It's not just him personally, no matter what people think, I just think that what he did is he tried to take a band that had a sound that was working for them, and he tried to turn it into something that just wasn't them. I just don't think that that's them on album. I don't like that sound at all. I think it needs to be nuclear blasted and gotten rid of and taken off for their discography.
Reason number 9,874 for Bob Ezrin to hate me. Thank you. Ken, what would be the album that you think should be given a completely different sound mix?
Well, there's been a lot, but...
Okay, Kiss album.
Yeah, I know. The Kiss album, I'm going to go with, it's kind of been a hard decision. I mean, there's some obvious ones, but I'm going to pick Crazy Nights. Because, sorry if I took you. Because that was Kiss neutered, in my opinion. That would have been greatly, if it would be better if it was mixed with, bring those guitars up, push the keyboards back. You can't fix the vocals because, whatever. It's they are what they are, pretty much. I guess you could
have you heard some
double
of the
track or do whatever you want.
have you heard some of the slowed down and pitch corrected versions?
It sounds a little better. Yeah, I guess they could do that.
Half a step on what was it? I'll fight hell to hold you. Really works. It doesn't work so much on My Way. I don't think anything can salvage that. But then you just replace that fucking song.
Yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, that's the one that it's. Come on, they got too polished there, and yeah, it just wasn't a true Kiss, I don't think, album in this sense. Yeah, I want to hear them. I mean, those songs would have been a lot better with the heavier upfront guitars, more separation and raw. Even bring the drums up, more too. Just just the guitars, period. I just want to hear that stuff. I don't think I remember hearing much bass on that. Geez, come on.
Yeah,
bring up that stuff.
The guitar is more in the mix. It is beautiful guitar work by Bruce, but I mean, you just go and people are obviously.
I agree with Bruce's guitar. His soloing is fantastic on the album. It's just just the overall is not very good. So yeah, if they do a re-release of that and remix it, they should call it Kiss, Crazy Nights Unneutered or whatever. just call it something like or we got our balls back or something. I mean, jeez, I don't know.
Yeah,
it was just a bad producer decision.
Do a deluxe edition, Crazier Nights. That was going to be my pick as well. That's
mine as well.
I'm just bouncing here to get in on this. The demos for Paul songs are out there now. The demos for some of Gene's were on the vaults. The unreleased stuff, Sword and Stone's been out there for a long time. Hide Your Heart's been out there for a long time. Are You Always This Hot is now out there. Dialogue for Love. They've got a fantastic album there. And when you listen to the original demos and it is often the case where you can never go back and capture the emotion and energy that goes into that original demo. That demoitis is, obviously a disease that Crazy Nights is a perfect illustration of. Transferring from the original intent of the demo that is captured, all the emotion and energy, into the polished, quality form that can be sold, so customers everything is lost. It was like it was put through a rinser and all you came out was unseasoned spaghetti at the end. The demos are outstanding. The songs are very good in lower pitch. The singing, the performances are fantastic. Crazy Nights could really benefit from a deluxe treatment, and I'll just leave it there. It's a fucking good album. It's good material. And it's just, the one that I would really, really love to see them touch and tinker with and just sit in the studio and go through those multi-tracks and put sliders up and down and fade things and, maybe put the keyboards where they belong. I think they still have a role, but maybe a little bit less 80s mentality. Again, no disrespect to Ron Nevison. It's just not a great sounding album when it comes to what you expect from Kiss. Daniel, get the last word in on this one.
Well, Crazy Nights is the obvious choice. It was mine as well. But thinking about the Kiss albums, I have another one that I would have loved to see Kiss go in and remix or redo and adjust, and that's one of my favorite albums because you had Creatures of the Night in 82 and Kiss Revenge in 92. I think both those albums sound great. But in between, those records in between, well, Lick It Up sounds pretty good as well. But then you have Animalize, Asylum, Crazy Nights, Heart in the Shade. All those four albums could be improved. And I would have loved to see one, Asylum, if they could do something about the guitar sound. There's something wrong with the guitar sound on Asylum. I don't like it. And maybe you could put the drums a bit more up front so you can really hear the double bass kick drum and King of the Mountain with crunchy guitars and a good sounding Eric Carr behind the kit. I think that could have been a really good sounding album. So I would have loved them to see them do something about Asylum even though I like it as it is, it could sound a lot better. So that would be my second pick if I can't pick Crazy Nice.
Wow. Just wow. Okay.
Yep.
We're gonna.
Sorry about that.
Just gonna have to move on from that. Rhiannon on the board asks, with Gene confirming a new Kiss box set to be released at some point, what is the single track that you most want to hear on there? And Rhiannon, I like your pick of Back on the Streets, but let's just take this as Gene Simmons speaking, so nothing is actually confirmed, likely, plausible, possible, or will, necessarily come to pass eventually. Mark, what's the one song that you would most like to be featured on a new Kiss box were it to happen?
Well, not having the actual vault that came out, so I'm not really sure what's on there. But one song that I've always been kind of curious about hearing is the original demo that was done with with Gene and Vinny for Unholy. I would like to have heard how that started off and what the roots of that were. I don't know if there's anything floating around with that on there, but that's always been a song that I've wanted to hear. So
maybe one day your wish will come true. Daniel.
Well, I don't know. I kind of like those working tapes or whatever they're called when you hear them in the studio working the songs out. So I'm sure there's a lot of that stuff, at least somewhere, because that seems to be the way they do the albums. They at least at a certain point in time they went into the studio and just tried stuff out and recorded everything and picked from that. So I'd really like to hear more of those tapes. There's a lot from the Dynasty sessions. Maybe you can, it would be great to hear something from the later records. If they still did it that way, I'm not sure. But would be, for example, Revenge or maybe one of the 80s album. I would like to hear that. I think that could be really interesting.
Ken.
Yeah, thinking. I thought about pulling just a song, one of their demos or something, but I was thinking maybe since you're not giving us any new music, if they can do a box set, finish a old song that was demoed, like for instance, Smoke, something like that. And record it new and put it out on the box set as a new release. It's something to give the fans a new song at least, even though it was a demo, but it was never on the Kiss album or anything. So something like that, one of those demos, like Smoke, or it could be one of the other ones that didn't make it on an album, but it was a good song. I would like them to go ahead and record it fully and finish it off and put it on there.
And like what Van Halen did, right?
Yeah, a whole album worth of those.
Yeah, She's the Woman, for instance, like that.
Yeah.
What was it? Like 9 of those songs actually came from way earlier demos or ideas. So, what would I like? I'm almost afraid to say Queen for a Day, because I'm afraid that it's going to have the goddamn Mongoloid Man, riff for the 29th time and just be nothing but that again. So I think I would probably have to go with one of the pre-Elder demos, a pristine multi-track version of Deadly Weapons, or maybe the original Feel Like Heaven. One of those 4 songs recorded at Penny Lane before Bob became involved in that project. I'd like to be surprised by something I didn't know about. So, anything like that would make me happy. Surprise me, or something that I've been wrong about, even better. So I don't really care. Anything at this point, just something, please. Don't make us beg. All right, let's go to another reserved topic, if we shall. Daniel, you reserved a topic to talk about, so lead us into that one.
Well, I would just like to put this one to sleep, or because this one is, you can see this topic now and then on the KissFAQ topic on the KissFAQ board, and I'd like to hear your take on this one. This guy, Peter Slayer Erickson, he's a fan of Slayer, and as you may tell, he's not a big fan of Kiss. And his question is, you have to think this guy, he really likes like Tom Araya with all the gray and, the belly and everything, just rocking. So his question was, why all the wigs and which one is the best one? So first of all, he can't seem to understand why Kiss wear wigs and which one is the best one. Well, when you have such a visual band like Kiss, you really can't do it another way. You have to put something up there if the hairline is starting to receding. So I think it would be worse if they didn't use wigs. But my God, they've used some bad ones through the years.
Amen.
I guess I'll focus on Gene because he was the first one who started to wear them, and I guess it started after Lick It Up tour, when you really could see that it didn't really look the way it had looked up there. It started to look a bit, a receding hairline. So when it came time for Animal Eyes, he started to put on some wigs. Most of them were really horrible. But if it is a wig, I'm not even sure at this point, but the one he used on the Revenge tour, if that's a wig, I don't know, that looked kind of good. And I never thought it was a wig until I saw him back in 2012, somewhere around there, when he went to South America. And all of a sudden, he had the same haircut once again. And then It struck me, maybe that was a wig all along. I would never have guessed it. It was that good. So that's my favorite wig, if it is a wig, the Revenge era. Other than that, the Crazy Nights tour, like Monsters of Rock, that show, that might be the worst one. When you can see him going out to the arena, adjusting his wig. If you've seen the video, he's adjusting his wig to make it, put it in the correct place. That's awful. But the Revenge era wig, if it is a wig, that looked good.
What an interesting question. Especially if someone who's a big Slayer fan. I mean, why all the wigs? Can you imagine Kerry King? I've seen pictures of him with hair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is everyone wearing hats on this show? We're all indoors. Yeah. No, Daniel, I know you used to have long hair, but my hairline's in retreat. It's like the French. It is running backwards fast.
The French.
Sorry, English guy. I can't help myself sometimes. I apologize. Should regret. Why all the wigs? Exactly, because they need to look the same, as much as possible, and their hair isn't always functional, shall we say. There have been some pretty bad ones. Paul's wig at one point was absolutely horrendous, early 2000s. I was like, why even bother? Because then you'd see him on the street, and I was like, your hair looks great, for what it is, but it doesn't look like Kiss hair. It just looked good. My favorite is actually Gene's Animalized one, The Heavens on Fire. Just because it kind of changed how he looked.
Really?
So I was totally cool with that. But, not everyone wants to look like Slayer. That's Ken.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, the reason I think that first wig happened was when that Gene wore on Animalized, because he did the Runaway movie and he cut all his hair off. So he needed that wig with that like leather, that leather band around it, which looked kind of funny. That didn't work for me, at least. I have to agree though that the Revenge one was Gene's best look throughout the without makeup era. His ones with the makeup since has been fine or whatever. I just remember though a couple of Paul Stanley ones where he put it on wrong and it's like too far forward and it's over his eyes, and I'm like, what What the hell? He's like, you can't say. I like, man, it was bugging the hell out of me. I'm like, dang it, fix your wig, man. Pull it back. It was over his eyes. I was like, oh god, he put that on wrong. But whatever. It was some years back. Did we lose somebody? Oh, I think Daniel. But anyway, that was the one.
No, I see myself, but I don't see Mark.
Oh, did you lose me?
I see him. I see him. It's just the screen had jumbled around on us.
Yeah, who's using a Mac? Who's using a Mac?
I am.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Don't use Mac.
We're seeing a preview of
your desktop.
Mark.
So
he's sharing his screen, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, that.
Oh,
Project Gemini. I see now.
Rocking there.
He's promoting Project Gemini.
I know, but no, actually, it's the long hair. See?
Oh,
Yeah.
that? Oh, okay.
You wanted to show.
Looks great.
Is that
Mark still has hair?
Is that kinky? Yeah. Is that kinky porn cuff? I mean, what was your name?
Kinky pork cream.
Yeah.
Porn cuff.
I can never remember the name.
That's great. Kinky porn cuff. I love it. Yeah, but no, this is not long ago. Well, it's back from my band before that, but yeah, I still have the same length of hair. In case people are wondering about the hat, I still have the same hair, but it's just mainly convenience, I guess, right? So there you go.
Convenience. Takes longer to wash, though.
Yeah, it does, but I mean, am I back there now?
All right. So we're back. Was there anything further on that topic, or can we stop wigging out and move on to something?
We can go on.
Okay.
Stop wigging out. I like it.
Hallelujah. All right. What post-Kiss music projects do you think we are most likely to see? And this applies to all ex-members too. All right. Daniel, what do you think's most likely?
I'm not anticipating a lot. Eric Singer will probably join a band, much like Mickey D did. You know, he got the Scorpions gig. Eric Singer, everyone knows he's a good drummer, so he'll have a good shot at landing a great gig. Tommy Thayer, I guess he'll stick to some sort of producing or helping bands. And I don't expect a lot from Gene and Paul. Maybe doing some touring. You know, Paul Stanley's, whatever it's called, the one when he does the falsetto singing. and the other guys do all of the other singing.
Soul Station.
Yeah, Soul Station. Yeah, something like that maybe. But I do hope he would put a final album out, going into the studio and doing something in the vein of the one he did for Ace Frehley's album. I really liked that track and the way Paul sounded on that one. So if I could pick one thing from the guys after Kiss, I would pick a Paul Stanley solo album. And I would hope he would do it in trying to sound more like the 78 solo album than the Live to Win album. Even though I like the Live to Win track, I think that's a good track. But so I'm hoping for one final Paul Stanley album, but I'm not counting on it. And that's about what I'm hoping for. I don't think we'll get much more than from the other guys.
No, I think hope is eternal for lots of these things. Ken, what would be one that you'd most like to see?
And are we just talking about Paul?
No,
anybody.
Post-Kiss music projects from anyone.
I'd love to have a Gene Simmons solo album. Excuse me, with the current, Gene Simmons band. Record with them and maybe take some of those old demos that he's had, some of the better ones on his box set, and he has something else new that's pretty good. Use that. I'd love to hear a straight ahead, maybe rocking Gene Simmons album, more consistent than, kind of all over the place, which he's done, is prior to it switches from one type to another, from Beatlesque to hard rock to dance, or what do you want to call it? But, just kind of keep it, go down that one lane and stay there and try to make a consistent rockin' album.
Yeah, just have someone tell Gene when to come in and what to sing and what to do, and then get out Gene and let them put it all together. That would be probably the best way to keep it from ending up like his last solo album. Mark?
Well, I'm really hoping for another Bruce Kulick record. His stuff has always been pretty good of late. His records seem to be getting better and better and better. So I'm really hoping that there's going to be another Bruce Kulick record coming out. I'm really up for that. As far as what I think could happen, I keep having this feeling that Paul Stanley will come through with some sort of a Soul Station record. Not that I'll be interested in it, but I just have this feeling that he will probably want to get that off his bucket list of something to do before he finally just stops altogether. But I agree with Ken. I think that Gene should definitely do a record with the Gene Simmons band that he had out with him. And, I think that they would guide him the right way musically as far as what songs to do on record. I think it would sound really good too, because they've always sounded good live. And a band that sounds that good live normally, a lot of the times will sound even better in studio with the help of the magic of recording studio work, right? So I think that he could come out with a really fantastic record with those guys backing him. So I think that could be a possibility, but again, it's all about timing, because could you imagine if Gene went and snatched his band back from Ace mid-tour saying, no, I need them back now. I'm going to do recording a record. That would be karma coming back to bite him, wouldn't it?
Jesus, they'd end up feeling like Mark St. John in the Animalize sessions. All right.
I just have to say, I think Dee Snider did a pretty interesting thing. He said, I haven't written a song since 95. And now he joined up with a few contemporary players, and they wrote all the stuff for him and said, sing this. Do it like this, and it sounded pretty good.
Yeah, I like the Gene Simmons band idea, because as well as Gene getting on in years, it would be much easier for him to put the Gene Simmons band on tour with someone filling in for Gene, because it would then still be the Gene Simmons band on tour, and he could stay home and just do the work in the studio and have someone who sounds similar to him do the stuff on stage, and then not have to wear out his old bones. But what I would most like is Peter's long lingering rock album. It's much of it is recorded. How much is finished, I have no idea. Again, it's one of those things that I would like Peter to bookend his artistic career with whatever he's got. Get it done, get it finished up. I want to hear some more Peter singing. And I love the BK idea as well, but I really would like the album that we know that he has put a lot of time and effort into. And, players like John 5, I think Richie's on there. I don't know too many other details about it and how many songs and whatnot. But, even if it's only 5 or 6 songs are finished, I would really, really enjoy that. And I would like him to get that Glass Chris in New York DVD done as well. Put the two together, just because, again, as a commemorative of the occasion, I think a lot of fans would really dig it in better quality than they've seen on YouTube. So that was a good question. I like that one. Let's do a couple more. If no one's too strapped for time, here's a good quick and easy one. Which color is most Kiss and why? Purple, red, blue, green, or silver? And this is Martin Carlson, editor, Sweden Rock Magazine. So we better indeed answer your question. Let's start in Sweden. Daniel.
Well, to me, it's always been about silver and black. But black wasn't there, so I have to pick silver. My two favorite colors, black and silver, and I guess it's because I've been so into Kiss, and I think that when I think about Kiss, I think about that logo, silver on black background, and when they strayed away from the black and silver and started wearing green and even pink and purple and all that stuff, as things started to go south. So to me, it's always been about black and silver. That's Kiss to me.
Nice. Mark?
Well, I guess for me, I always think about this when I think about like the solo albums and their kind of auras behind them. And I guess, the strongest colors from that I always thought were always the red and the purple. But for me, my favorite color has always been red. So for me, I always think of red as the color of Kiss. Also because, Gene and the blood and stuff like that. There's a lot of red association going on in there too. So I kind of always connected red with Kiss for some reason.
Good one. Ken?
Yeah, I agree with Mark. Red. I mean, it's always seems to be red. It's been a lot in their logos and on album covers, certain, album covers even. There was red and all different. Most of their logos has the red and kind of like the fire flame kind of look, or it's something like that. Or again, then there's Gene and the blood. Though, red's not my technically favorite color, but I think that's the one that stands out for me as far as Kiss goes.
It's on the logo behind you on the Dynasty doll.
There you go, red. Yeah, exactly. It was red on there. That's correct.
All right. So for me, I'm going to go with fluorescent pink and fluorescent green and all the nice fluorescent colors from the Asylum video. No, I totally agree with Daniel. Silver and black, that's totally what it is. I mean, the only other kind of color I could really associate with Kiss is the color of fire, and that's from the flash pots going off on stage or Gene spitting fire. But I think black and silver, whether it's leather, or the under things that they wore after their costumes became, is just that and the shiny shit. So disco ball. So none of the aura colors come into play for me. All right. After the before we go to that one, Ken, let's do your dedicated topic, shall we?
Okay. Well, which one to? Can I pick one of the two?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this came from I solicited just last night, last minute. But our buddy Jody Havnut gave me a couple of questions, and one of them, this one, I thought was a good one too. He says, if you had a time machine and could go back to witness one thing in history, like a certain concert or recording session, or what have you, what would it be?
Damn.
And yeah. Do you want me to start on that one? I was kind of starting to think about it. That's hard. There's so many, obviously, different things to do. But I thought about it. And I thought, you know what would have been cool is to witness the Cadillac High, be a student of the school, and see all the hoopla that went on with the Kiss, out in the football field, everyone putting the makeup on, seeing them live in the I think it was the gym where Kiss played there, and also the parade and all that. Just that would have been just totally awesome to be part of that and witness it. So I would have loved to have gone back and been there and to see all that happen.
Wow, there's so many here. My mind is
so
spinning.
many.
So I just
Exactly.
I just get to abuse my position to go around the table, so I have longer to think. Daniel.
Okay, I'd like to sit next. I'd like to sit next to Paul when he decided that Mark St. John would be the one getting the gig, and I would have said no, pick Bruce or someone else. No, when you actually think about Kiss history, you think about the live shows, and there are quite a few I would have liked to attended. Tiger Stadium would have been pretty cool. The first show, the first real show of the reunion era. But being there in '77 would have been even greater. Maybe Houston. But I think the coolest one would have been if you just walked in the Coventry, in '74 without knowing anything, and looking at the billboard or something and seeing Kiss. I never heard of them, but let's check them out. And then entering the Coventry, a few people there, and then you see that band coming on stage. It would shock your senses. And I think that would have been the greatest thing, without knowing about them and seeing that live back in the day when they really stuck out, So that's my pick.
You know where I'm going next, Mark.
Mm-hmm. Well, the one thing I would have loved to have seen is I would have loved to have been in Australia in 1980 when they came there the first time, during that whole huge hoopla, and attend all those different functions that they had, and all those crazy crowds there that they had around the hotels. It's just that whole scene then must have been just incredible to see at that time. And plus, you had a very young, fresh Eric Carr with the band, and I've always loved those clips that you get from that time, and even the concert that they have on the Kissology from the Australian tour is really good. So I would have loved to have been there for that. I think that's one of the highlight moments in Kiss's career, and just to be there, kind of how you were explaining your situation, Ken, with being at that event, right? I'd like to be at this. I'd like to be at this sort of an event to see how it would have been there to be in person there to see it.
All right. Well, you guys have made this no easier for me to figure out what I would go back and do. I could easily say, first show of the Love Gun tour to see if that, what the set list was, or the first show of the U.S. leg of the Destroyer tour. Same reason. I don't think I want to see them in the clubs. I think I want to be sitting on a chair while they audition guitarists in December 1972. So is that kind of seeing them in a show? No, but if I could go back in time and witness one thing, it would definitely be to witness those auditions and just see, what it was like, and the expressions on their faces as these different players came in. And to see the reaction of when Ace plugged in and played with them for the first time, to see if there was anything in their eyes of, by Jesus we found him. That would be the thing I would love to see the most. Other than that, Wicked Lester, I would just love to see go back in time and see Gene and Paul muddling their way through that set. Knowing what we know and knowing what they've said and having heard the material, I think that would just be kind of wonderful to experience. All the Kiss stuff, there are just too many things that I just I need to do a top 10 of things to go back in time to see.
Julian, I thought you would have chosen going back to the point of where they're trying to choose the makeup and the outfit for Eric Carr, watching the Chicken Hawk, him try on the Chicken Hawk outfit and put on that makeup at the time. That would have been funny just to see how they're coming up. Like they put it all together. Like, yeah, that doesn't look. That's not gonna work. We need something else.
Yeah, I mean, I could easily say first show of the Creatures tour as well. I mean, were they wearing the Love Gun costumes? Any of those things are the mysteries that remain. Or maybe in my personal history, I should say, go back to Binghamton 1984 and actually go to the freaking concert that I could have gone to and see Mark St. John play with the band. But
there you go.
Again, there's so many. I mean, that'll be a great one to put out to people maybe listening to this show today. I mean, what is and don't be like Julian and pick 10. What is the one thing that if you could go back in time, a really good one. Let's do a couple more just before we wrap up. Here's a quick and easy one. Which Kiss member would be most likely to be on the first manned space shuttle to Mars? There's Bjorn Heiderson, again from Sweden. And that's an easy one for me to answer. Mm-hmm. Paul Stanley, he's the only person in the band who's probably healthy enough to make it out of the atmosphere. And hey, he works out. He's a pretty rough guy. So he could go into space. Ace ain't getting anywhere near any space program with his history. So, Daniel?
Well, I'd pick Ace. He's the only one crazy enough to do it. I think if it's the first one going there, I think Ace would go in an instant. If he talked about it as early as 1980 in those interviews. I think Tom Snyder, he said he wanted to go to space and stuff like that. So I'd pick Ace Frehley just because his mind has been blown, Hearing him speaking sometimes make me scared of him. He talks about UFOs and, being from other planets and stuff like that. He's just out of his mind. So I'd say Ace Frehley would go in an instant, even if it was very unsafe. I think Paul Stanley would wait for a few ones to see how it goes. Well, this one, yeah. So, and then maybe it would go. But the first space shuttle, I'd say Ace.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Somehow I don't see Paul actually going. He'd want to stay home with his family. But there you go. Virgin Galactic is about ready to fly. So maybe Ace, if Gene wants him to do anything, he's going to have to buy Ace a ticket on Virgin Galactic. Ken?
Expensive.
Yeah, I was going to say Ace because just like you said, Virgin Atlantic, they're coming up with these spacecrafts now that's like almost like an airliner. It can take a certain amount of passengers up. You pay a certain amount of money to get a ride and get out there. Though if it was an actual mission to Mars, I don't think they would allow any Kiss member to go. I mean, you need a real space cadet, astronaut to do that work. But if just going out into space on one of those newer fangled things, orbit the Earth, yeah, I would pick Ace.
All right, Mark, did we ask you?
No, but I'm gonna go. I'm gonna also say what they said. I mean, it just seems like a complete no-brainer. I think Ace, because I mean, the man just released an album called Spaceman. It's like Ace really not going into space is kind of like finding out that Aquaman's afraid of water or something. I think that it's just like hand in hand. So I would go with Ace for sure.
All right, I think we've got time for one more question, and this is, again, from our buddy Jody at Podcast Rock City. What's the one thing you would erase from Kisstree if you could, without the butterfly effect happening? Just erase something without any adverse reaction. What would it be? An album, a member, a song? And thanks for the kind words, Jody, and everyone at Podcast Rock City for your shout out to me in your recent episode. Appreciate it. So let's start with you on that, Ken.
Yeah, this one, butterfly effect, that kind of thing, I kind of thought about it. The only thing, I don't want to remove any members, even though, Mark, like for instance, Mark St. John was there a short period of time, but, he has a living impact on the soloing on Animalize. So I'm going to go with, Carnival of Souls album because shoot, that was pretty much a nothing in the world of music. It just kind of went by. It was as an afterthought by the time it was released. I don't think people cared, or the general public, and even Kiss fans. Even though there's some good music that I like on it, could I have lived without that? It could have been just still stayed in the vaults for forever. Yeah, it could have stayed there, and not hearing it wouldn't have killed me. So that's the one thing. I don't think there would be any fly effect, really, that would have affected anything going downstream if that never was released.
Nice, and we're not concerned about the butterfly effect, so it can be absolutely anything whatsoever. Daniel, what would you erase?
Ooh,
You said butterfly effect.
It's a hard one, but I guess the main problem for me with Kiss's career is, the years from 79 to 81. So I would change something there, and they started to play music that really didn't sound like the Kiss you knew. Maybe it's hard to say don't put out the album because I like something from every album, but maybe if they didn't put out, let's see, The Elder, they skipped that one. And instead they would have listened to Ace and tried to do something more in the, more like Creatures of the Night, or maybe just wait a year and put out Creatures of the Night. So I wouldn't cry rivers if The Elder never existed, actually. It's fun, but I never liked it, so I'd skip that one and go right into Creatures.
Okay, Mark.
Well, when I first saw this question come up, something immediately popped into my head, and right away put a big smile on my face. If I could actually have this happen, is to erase from old time the very first meeting of Bob Ezrin and Kiss when he first met in Toronto that time, because without that meeting, nothing would have happened between them. They would have just continued on like nothing would have happened, and it would have been a beautiful, lengthy career for Kiss.
Okay.
So Bob that would have helped me. That would have helped me as well, and then they would have nailed it. So we're on the same. Yeah,
because
that might be pretty good.
Because they wouldn't still be a band by 1981.
and Beth would have never become a hit. Probably would have made the album.
Casablanca would have been bankrupt in 1975.
No.
We don't know that for sure.
No, because we're not talking about the butterfly effect. Okay, so, I thought maybe go back to that one moment, that one nanosecond where Paul did something that damaged his voice. That led to him. But that's just, again, butterfly effect, we're not allowed. So, an album, go back to the moment where Paul decided, yeah, that's a great cover, let's use that for Asylum. No, that's just a little bit too stupid. I'm going to go back to when Gene and Paul decided to sell their catalog control.
Yeah.
I just think that had they not done that, or had to do that, and again, we don't know all of the ramifications that are involved in that one decision. I just like the idea that they control everything throughout their career and never lost control of it to the point where they're like a Motley Crue or these bands that just are able to do with their catalog as they wish and have control over their own art. So I don't want to erase any members. I don't want to erase any albums because, again, even mistakes and failures make for good books. So, good stories. So I just think or maybe not investing in certain coal mines. But, there you go. Bad economic decisions. Let's erase those so that they didn't ever have to worry about that. We've got a few more questions left, but I think we're going to save these up for another episode. And, for everyone who's listened to some of these questions people have been sending in, I hope it motivates you to send some in, because we do enjoy just taking a little bit of time out from doing structured topics and just addressing some of these fun ones, even if they're trips to Mars. So we do appreciate everyone who has sent some in, and if we didn't get to yours today, we certainly will. But I guess let's leave that there for now. So, gentlemen, thank you. And thank you, everyone, for listening. But now, from Mark, from Daniel, from Ken and myself, thanks for listening, and we shall see you next time. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.